3D movie Time Capsule
for 2009.
Hello. This is Adolf. I have with me Jake.
Howdy, folks.
And Krista is unable to come in for this call, but she did provide some text information. So this podcast, 2020 is kind of a bust for us regarding 3D movies. COVID-19, coronavirus basically ruined things. So instead of trying to do a current events podcast, we're going to kind of go into nostalgia for a little while. And so the title of this podcast is 3D Movie Time Capsule X Year. And this year, we're going to focus on 2009. And we're going to go through the entire decade of the 2000s from 2009 to 2019. And then if this is popular and we have time still, we'll do Time Capsule for other years, other noteworthy years in 3D movies. How does that sound?
Sounds awesome.
We just need a break from everything else going on, and we already did 2 podcasts on coronavirus. We don't need a third. So, this year sucks. This decade sucks. Let's go back in time. Let's go back to the year 2009, Jake. Back then, we had a young president named Barack Hussein Obama who took over the country, and hope was in the air. And 3D movies were starting to become a big deal. We're going to go in we're just going to be all over the place. We're not going to talk about all the movies, of course. There's a lot of stuff that is just not worth our time. We did actually try to do this in the past, to talk about all the movies, and that ended up being, I don't know what this is, and it was not that fun to listen to. I don't think so. So we're going to try to focus things. If we did miss a movie that you absolutely love or absolutely think we should have covered, comment, tell us. And, it is what it is. So we're going to save the big one for last, which is Avatar. So I'm going to do a quick rundown of movies we're going to talk about. Just names right now, and then we'll go into each movie. My Bloody Valentine 3D, Alien Trespass, Coraline, Jonas Brothers 3D Concert, Monsters vs. Aliens, Avatar, Up, Call of the Wild, G-Force, Ice Age, Dawn of Dinosaurs, Final Destination, Cloudy Chance of Meatballs, Dark Country, Christmas Carol, Boogie, and Toy Story 1 and 2. And we're going to try to cover this in like 30 minutes. About 45, give or take. So, Jake, what do you want to talk about first?
I guess we will start with the first one of the year, My Bloody Valentine, which the 3D was surprisingly good. And for a remake of probably one of Canada's greatest horror movies, tain't bad. A lot of CW actors, but the highlight is the 3D. Not as gory as the original, but the original's not in 3D. This has actually got pretty good gore effects, some really good 3D. Like I said, it's not bad, and you can probably pick this up on 3D disc really cheap, and it's one of my trashy favorites. Not great, but it's just, you can't recommend it as a great movie, but you'll have a good time with it if you're into that sort of thing.
Okay. Next up,
I go another trashy favorite of mine. This did get a 3D release, but this is one of the few movies that's been released in 3D that I've never been able to see in 3D. And it never got a home release. Alien Trespass. It's a kind of gentle comedy about 50s sci-fi movies. So 3D makes sense. Just unfortunately, it didn't get a 3D release where I live. It's not a whole lot to say about it, other than, like I said, it's a parody of 50s sci-fi movies, like it came from outer space.
Okay, so I'll go do 2 more. Coraline. Now this is a excellent Leica production, stop motion animated horror kids animated movie. I saw it last year for Halloween and absolutely love it still. It is a classic. It is scary, spooky, and still fun for kids. It is disturbing, but it is a whole lot of fun. Jake, what are your thoughts on Coraline?
Oh, this is a great movie. I love like a hometown pride. They're a Oregon film company that's done incredible movies, and this is an incredible one. Uh, highly, highly recommended. Beautiful stuff.
Now, Krista did text in about Coraline. She said that Coraline does this cool thing with the 3D, with the real world being fairly flat, but the fantasy world having more depth. And I think I remember she saying before a highlight of Coraline 3D was when Coraline was going through like the tunnels and like the 3D was really great depth there. I didn't see it in 3D, but I do remember that, and I can imagine that being great looking in 3D. Do you remember that, Jake?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. And if you get a chance to see it 3D on the big screen, go for it. It's well worth picking up on disc if you can find it.
And it's one of those animated movies that is evergreen. It's one of those evergreen movies that I don't think any time in the future it will be considered obsolete or anything. It's beautiful, it's interesting, and it works.
Oh, it's definitely on my best of list.
Yeah, definitely. Now we got to talk about what probably is the best artist group and the best music of all time. The Jonas Brothers. Woo woo! I'm kidding. We don't. So the Jonas Brothers had a 3D movie. The 2010s, the aughts had a big string of 3D musician movies, documentaries, fluff things. I didn't watch any of them. I just thought it would be funny to say that.
Yeah, I didn't watch it either. I kind of avoid these like plague, which I think you can all relate to right now.
Yeah. So the Jonas Brothers, I don't think they've done an album or music in years. I don't know if they're still alive.
No, they're hey, one of them's putting in really good work in movies.
Okay.
Joe Jonas has been doing some great stuff.
So, any Jonas Brothers fans in the audience listening to this? Comment, tell us. You guys on YouTube, what's your favorite song? Link it. I don't know. People may, this is, 10 years, 11 years ago almost. So people may have grown up with this and, think that's their jam, but not for us,
Yeah.
So let's keep going. Jake, what's next two movies you want to talk about?
Okay. Let's go. I'm going down the list here. Did we list Monsters versus Aliens?
Yes.
Or yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've seen it. This is one I think one of the ones that I think got a home video, initially was released on home video, but you couldn't buy the disc. You had to get it buying a. Yeah, one of the things that I think really hurt 3D was when they, instead of releasing Blu-rays into stores, you had to buy a TV or a Blu-ray player to get the disc, which I thought was an awful thing to do.
Interesting.
It's just an average movie, monsters, humor. I remember seeing it, but this is DreamWorks' first 3D movie.
I remember when it came out, I was like, no, this looks too kiddie, too basic, and I never watched it. And during this time, I had Nintendo 3DS, and Nintendo would have published videos on there, and they would have clips of this movie, and the clips were in 3D. They weren't that great, but it was something, and it was free. And it's like, meh. It's kind of some of the animated movies are kind of forgettable, and some of them you wish were forgettable. Like the next movie, G-Force. Oh God, this looks terrible. I never saw this crap, but I heard it's terrible. Jake, what are your thoughts on?
This is god awful. This is one I got dragged to taking kids to. Awful 3D. I just remember awful effects, awful 3D, just awful, awful, awful. Pretty forgettable. It's just one of those things you just remember you didn't like it. You don't remember why. It goes in one ear out the other. It's just kitty fodder.
So this is the gerbils and their little balls, and I remember the
Hmm.
trailers for this were just god awful, and they're like, oh my god. I mean, this is bad kid stuff. Now, Chris has a comment on this that I wanted to shout out to. She said that they actually had to digitally remove one of the girl's hairs and give her CGI hair because it was difficult to convert in 3D.
That's hilarious.
So yeah, we have another bad animated movie here. Ice Age, Dawn of the Dinosaurs, where the Ice Age. Look, I think the first Ice Age movie I liked and I thought was pretty good, and then this one is when it really just went into crazy town because Ice Age is dinosaurs. It just didn't make any sense. And then remember the first Ice Age actually had humans in it, and then now it has dinosaurs in it, and it's like it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Uh, Not the biggest Ice Age fan. I mean, to me, I couldn't tell you one from another. They all just kind of blur in together. To me, they just were, yeah. I guess everybody doesn't like Raymond.
So, from one animated movie to another, Jake, this might be one of the best animated movies from Pixar. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Oh, it must be Up. That's
Yes,
definitely on my best list.
absolutely. I love Up.
Hmm. Yeah, the house that it's based on is just a few hundred miles up the road from me. As far as I know, it's still standing. Not that I've kept up with the story of that house, but the movie, oh, it's incredible. It's beautiful. And God, do I wish I had balloons right now to hook up to my house and just fly away from Corona.
Yeah, Up is one of those Pixar movies where I was like, no. I mean, I have faith in Pixar, but I don't know about this. This premise seems weird. And then I watched it and cried like a baby. And
Oh God, I was gutted by the intro because that's such
yeah,
a touching love story.
yeah. And the baby, oh my God.
Yeah, moved my cynical heart.
Yeah. I think I remember reading an article where saying that was the ballsiest, gutsiest, most gutsy thing was to have a scene where the main characters are can't have a baby and you cry and you don't say a word but you understand everything and it's just so beautifully animated and wonderful. I think the first 20 minutes or there's a good segment of this movie that was just silent and music and you understand it completely and everything is fun.
Hmm.
So yeah, Up. Now I remember Up not being that great in 3D. I enjoy the movie. I love the movie. I just don't think the 3D was all that. Jake?
Uh, 3D presentation was good. I mean, does it hold up to modern uh, 3D? What they can do? Not so much. But I'm judging by I haven't seen Up on the big screen since it came out. It hasn't been, these days they don't re-release movies like they used to, especially in 3D presentation. So I've only seen it on disc. Now on disc on my system, it looks very good. In fact, I think it looks better than it did when I saw it on the big screen. But that can also be the theater I saw it at, because everybody who was a moviegoer, especially 3D moviegoer, knows that there's some presentation issues with some theaters. They just don't care.
Yeah, and this was 2009, so this is, the beginning of the new 3D realm, and, you could, I don't know, I wouldn't cut them slack because they are a corporation and you are paying for this, and, it should be better, but it's not. So it's just one of those things where I don't know if the theater I went to was ready to have 3D and they just did it real quick and easy. I just remember the 3D aspect being all that. But the movie itself is fantastic. Now, this is one of the movies that Disney Pixar has not ruined by sequels or merch. It is what it is. And they don't care if kids don't love this movie. Adults love this movie, you know?
Yeah.
So, Jake, what's the next movie you want to talk about?
Oh, I don't want to talk about it, but I feel like I should. Call of the Wild. God, sucks.
Another dog movie.
Yeah, it's no justice to Jack London's book at all. None. A criminal waste of Christopher Lloyd. Bad 3D. Bad story. Horrible, horrible movie.
Have you seen the 2021?
Yeah, I actually like it a lot. Yeah, sure, it took liberties, but ironically, it's one of the most faithful adaptations I've ever seen of Call of the Wild. In fact, I would put it in my top 10 adaptations of the novel.
How's the CGI dog?
Yeah, that was a smart move because I mean, there's no way anybody's going to put an animal in that kind of peril that's in that book in 2020. Ain't no way. Probably the best adaptation is the one with Charlton Heston in the 70s. That was like a slaughterhouse of animals. Even right-wing Charlton Heston had problems with that movie. He really bad-mouthed it in one of his autobiographies. But back to the one we're talking about, it's just god-awful. It's forgettable. It's just terrible. They just basically try to turn this into a kid movie. It's not the book. It's a bad story anyway. They just called it Call of the Wild, basically because I think they figured people vaguely remember reading the book in high school. And if they really remembered it, they wouldn't want their kids anywhere near, because that's probably too intense of a story for them, even though generations before probably read this book in elementary school. But go figure. This is just a terrible movie. As far as I know, it never got a 3D release on home video, which I think that's a shame, because I think every movie that gets a theatrical release in 3D does deserve a home video release in 3D as well, no matter how bad the movie is.
At least for, preservation purposes. It doesn't get lost in, that way we can have it. Even if it's bad, that way we can have it and, future people can appreciate it. Because I know that's something that's happening with older 3D movies from the 50s. Like, they just don't have it. They just didn't save it. And it's gone forever,
And people tell me how bad they think the last Fox movie, the Harrison Ford Call of the Wild is. I go, oh, really? Why don't you watch this 2009 version and get back to me?
All right. Let's keep going here. What's the next movie you want to talk about, Jake?
I guess we will talk next about, we discussed G4. Let's talk something good. Dark Country.
What is this, Jake? I have never idea what this is.
This is I don't want to say a whole lot, but this movie is well worth the hassle you're going to have to find it. It never got a U.S. home video release in 3D. It's shot in real 3D. This is not a conversion. Thomas Jane, the actor, directed this. It's a great little hybrid movie of film noir, sci-fi, horror. I don't really want to say too much about it. It's an adult movie. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking it's an R movie, which I won't swear to it, but yeah, the material strikes me as being R, even if it didn't get an R rating. I wouldn't let the little ones watch this. This is definitely for a older teen adult audience. It's just a great look. It's one of my favorite 3D movies of all time.
Okay, wow, that's a great recommendation.
hmm The 3D is awesome. It's a clever story. It's I wish Tom Jane would direct more movies, especially in 3D.
Okay, so let's keep going. Final Destination. Now, I haven't seen any of these movies, but I know about them. It's like some people that were supposed to die, but they didn't die, and then they get like visions of death or something. And it was a popular franchise for a couple years, and then just kind of played out. Do you remember the first one?
Yeah, some of these are decent and some of them are terrible. The 3D in these uh, they're like the Saw movies. Some are good, some are bad. 3D's generally really good, pretty good. You know, they're if you like gory horror movies, they're well worth your time, especially in 3D, because some of the are even now, the effects hold up.
Okay. All right, let's keep going here. Animated movie that I've heard amazing things about it, but I've never seen it because it looked dumb. But I've heard it's one of the best hidden gems and movies that people should watch. It's Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Oh yeah, this is a great movie. Lord and Miller, strike again. This is a awesome movie. The 3D, the animation is wow. Sequels aren't bad, but this first one is wow, and it's such an oddball premise. This is one of those movies you hope that someday it becomes so wildly popular that somebody makes an amusement park attraction based on it, because that would look amazing.
Okay. Now, let's keep going here to Christmas Carol. This is a motion capture CG animated with Jim Carrey, and this is the early days of motion capture. I actually really like this version of the classic Christmas Carol story. It's still wacky, but I like it. Jake, what are your
Mhm.
thoughts?
Yeah, and Zemeckis and his this has better capture than what's that one, Polar Express,
Yeah.
but it's not as doesn't have the creep factor, but it works better with the material this time around, even though it still does have the creep factor with the capture. Because A Christmas Carol, there's just a dark edge to that story.
I remember the 3D being really good there.
Uh-huh. Yeah, this is really good 3D. It still holds up. Uh, and yes, we will talk about it when we do another Christmas list next year. I didn't want to list it because it was so on the nose, but we got a request, and when we rotate our list of 3D movies for Christmas, we'll put it on this year. Okay? You happy?
Yeah, we did get a comment about that being missing from last year's.
Oh, we'll talk about it, we promise.
Now, God, Christmas feels like it's gonna be forever from now.
That's if, we'll talk about it if we live.
Yeah, I mean, this past month has been just excruciatingly slow. Um, but let's keep going here. Boogie. What's a Boogie movie about?
Oh, it's this crime drama throwback to kind of the Ralph Bakshi type of stuff like Heavy Traffic. Uh, it's in cell animation, flat. It's real. The 3D is real cardboardy. Uh, it's meh. The
Okay.
movie's meh. The animation's meh. The 3D's terrible. It's one of the worst.
All right, we got a re-release here with Toy Story 1 and 2. And I love Toy Story. I love the entire series of movies. I did not see it in 3D, but I did hear that this got like redone for 3D and reanimated, so it's supposed to look great. Jake?
Yeah, it was re-rendered. It actually looks like it was filmed in 3D, because technically it was, because they re-rendered it. It looks amazing. Uh, they did a much better job than when DreamWorks decided to do the Shrek series, and they just converted. They didn't re-render them from scratch. And the difference is noticeable. And of course, if you haven't seen the first 3 Toy Story movies, pause this, go watch them, and come back. We'll be here. But yeah, those are highly recommended.
I still love 4 too.
I like 4.
All right, so we got one movie left. You know what this is. This is the big one. This is the one movie that everyone knows that we're going to have to talk about. It is the Jonas Brothers movie. No, Avatar. We have to talk about Avatar. Jake, what are your thoughts on Avatar?
Well, Avatar is a beauty. It is, the 3D is amazing. It's beautiful to look at. Now, the story is about an inch deep. It's not it's basically what's that Kevin Costner movie about dancing with wolves? It's dancing with wolves in outer space. But nobody watches Cameron movies for the storylines, really. It's for the action and for the visuals. But sometimes he comes up with a great story. This one is just interesting. I couldn't tell you about it because it's just the visuals I remember, and Pandora, and ooh, and ah, and oh, this looks gorgeous. And this is the movie that jump-started the modern 3D movement big time. And it's also the handling of it, I think, has killed it. Because if you remember, Avatar did not get a real home video release for it seemed like a million years. That was because they decided, we're going to package this disc. If you want it, you're going to have to buy a TV and Blu-ray player combo, 3D combo, to have this on home video, which led to widespread piracy. Most people I know who have Avatar on 3D Blu-ray have a pirated version.
It's crazy to think about that. Now, for me, Jake, okay, I haven't seen it since basically the theaters, but I saw it 3 times in the theater, which is quite rare for me. 2 times in 3D, and the 3rd time in 2D, just for the hell of it. And the 2D did not live up as much as I thought. It was just not as good. But I thought this was so much fun. I think it's a really interesting concept of getting into other people's skin and being inside of them. And I love the action here. The 3D is incredible. It is the movie that everyone says, "Oh my God, this is 3D awesome," and it lived up to the hype. I thought it was so much fun. Now I think during that time people thought the movie was so beautiful in 3D because it's just the foliage and how you did everything, and people are like, "Oh my God, I can't have the real world doesn't look as beautiful as Avatar. I'm now depressed." I remember that. Do you remember that, Jake?
Yeah, and I also remember there was a director's cut, which I never saw, but I don't know if it was released in 3D or not. I do know when they eventually did release Avatar, it only got in 3D. It didn't get a director's cut. It just got a theatrical version in 3D.
I also remember that the early first 2 trailers for it looked terrible, and everyone thought this movie was gonna bomb, and Fox spent $200 million on this, and are they gonna make it? This is gonna be the biggest bomb of all time. And then it came out at the end of December, middle of December, and then it became such a huge hit. Became the number 1 movie for about 10 years until Endgame took it down, which is just incredible how much money it made. And basically, it took over the entire box office for the first 3 months of 2010. But it did come out in December 18th, 2009. 2009, aught 9. So it is still 09. It's one of those pet peeves I have of movies and people that do lists. Well, December comes around, it's time to do the end of the year thing, and like December's not even finished yet, and you don't know what kind of events or things happen, but you're just gonna skip it because you have a deadline. No, you're gonna do this right. You include everything that came out in December. I mean, for God's sakes, COVID-19 was a December thing, and it became a big deal in 2020, and it
Yeah.
just you don't you finish the year with all the everything there. And Avatar, I do love Avatar. I haven't seen it since. I do own the 2D Blu-ray of it, and but I haven't seen it since. So I have no idea when Avatar 2 or 3 are going to come out. It's been delayed forever. Um,
Uh, yeah, and at this point, if you haven't figured it out yet, everything's been delayed.
So Avatar 2 was, I think, supposed to be 2021 December, and then, production stopped because of the virus. And I mean, it was delayed like four times. So it's it's supposed to be underwater. And Avatar is a weird thing because it became so huge then, but like everyone hates the movie now. Like it didn't like seep into popular culture, that much. People made fun of it, but it wasn't like Star Wars where people in Comic Con wore outfits every year or whatever. It just was popular for that one year, and it was super popular, and then people got burnt out of it and done with it, and it's a weird thing.
Oh, I think a lot of that is because the delay in the home video release, trying to force people, if they wanted to see it, to have to buy a 3D system to get it on home video. And there's a really funny and pretty good porn parody in 3D of Avatar. Of course, that's adults only. I wouldn't show this to your kids.
So yeah, that's basically a 2009 time capsule. We're gonna keep going here and do 2010, 2011 through 19, and then occasionally, see what other years are worth doing. I mean, 2006. How many movies were there? Like three, five.
Yeah.
All right, so that's gonna be it for 2009. We're gonna really try not to mention damn coronavirus in future podcasts, but it's hard. It's hard. It's our current life right now. So time capsule for the future too. It's just one thing after another with this damn thing. So yep, that's it for 2009, and we'll see you later for 2010. What was your favorite movie, Jake, of 2009?
Dark Country,
Okay, for me, I will say Up.
good choice.
What is the worst movie of 2009?
I would say Call of Wild.
I'm not gonna really say because I haven't seen most. I'm gonna say Ice Age because I really hated Ice Age. So, what's the best animated movie besides Up?
Coraline,
Okay. Any other? What's the worst movie?
I said Call of the Wild. G-Force is up there too.
Down there, down there.
Yeah. And yeah, that would probably be more accurate.
What about the Jonas Brothers?
I'm not gonna a movie I didn't see. I'm not gonna say it's the worst.
Oh, we gotta stop picking on Jonas Brothers. It actually was filmed in 3D, so I'll give them credit there.
Yeah,
Um,
I may actually see it, but and Joe Jonas has been doing some really good acting. So
yeah, we're just picking on them because it's fun. We're not trying to offend any Jonas Brothers people, any
no,
fans.
yeah, they've. I'm not much of a music person. I'm an actor person, and Joe Jonas has done some good acting. So
All right. Anything else you want to say about 2009?
um, lately, wouldn't mind going back there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was a different era. It really feels like that was a whole long time ago.
Yeah, that's back when we were worried about things like um SARS and you know, just little epidemics, not worldwide pandemics.
Oh, that was the age of H1N1 or the swine flu. I got the swine flu. It was pretty bad.
Yeah, well, hey, the first round of swine flu killed 100 million people, so
Mm. All right, well, that's enough virus talk. We're out of here.
Yeah, this is a 3D podcast, not virus talk.
Yeah. All right, bye.
Bye.
Before this podcast wraps up, I want to thank my patrons. Thank you, Kano3D and Mr. Bengal5 for your financial support on patreon.com. So that's going to be it for this podcast. Thanks for listening. You can find 3D or 2D on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram, and more. Just look for 3D or 2D. Links are in the info box. If you want to send us listener mail, our email address is email3dortwo@gmail.com. Thank you for either listening or watching this podcast. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.